So, I am continuing my tour of the universe. This is a PTU S. PTU S, so pretty close to 314 live, if I dare say it, or suggest it. You know, obviously, I don't have a crystal ball, but the former Green Imperial stronghold that is now owned by a wonderful assortment of bad folks, if you think that way, or independently minded folks, if you think that other way, is still here and kicking in 314. And I thought I could use some love. I think that a lot of folks try to avoid this place like the plague. And there's some good reasons. He's got...
What can I do for you?
Hey, he actually worked a little bit.
I'm okay. Just working.
Okay. Respect. I think I'm getting pretty decent frame rates even while recording in GrimHex. So that's pretty cool. And, yeah, let's take a look at the market and see if there's anything new in these stores. Forget where the hell the kiosk is. I will be the first to admit that I don't spend that much time at GrimHex myself. But I do know this ain't the market. It's on these elevators. I miss Levski. There, I said it. I really do. I miss Levski a lot. It was a better place. Let's see if there's a bartender. How funny would it, oh my god, there's a bartender.
He's up. I'm in the middle of something.
Oh, he's in the middle of something. The bartender is not functioning, but
Sure.
G-Lock bar urban area 18, I think I tested on 314p, did not even have the bartender. They were all standing in the middle of the room, like, you know, like this, like all staring at the ground, basically, all in a row. Yeah. This guy's standing in the middle of the room, but they've got an animated bartender who actually responds to you, even though he doesn't want to do anything. Could also be that his AI is working fine, but the AI to bring him resources to be able to deliver stuff is not functioning.
I'm in the middle of something.
Alright, we'll leave him to whatever the middle of something he is. Anyway. So, I miss Levski. Levski was like the nicer version of GrimHex. It was kind of like a neutral place. I like the the interesting vibe, the air traffic, the spaceport control folks, or I guess you could call it. I was gonna say air traffic control (ATC), but it was probably a spaceport. You could argue. There's our hangars with the ASOP terminals, just like anywhere else, sort of. But yeah, I knew Levski like the back of my hand. I spent a lot of time on Levski, and then it was pulled to make room for big ships. Basically, the server could not handle an airlock. The server could not handle all of the weird and wonderful ships that were coming into the game. So when the fleet came in, Levski went out. And that's unfortunate because Levski was a pretty interesting spot. You could spawn ground vehicles and even go, like, you know, roll around and test out different concepts. And you could spawn one of your org mates could spawn a ship below, and you could take the elevator to the top and spawn a vehicle, and well, you can meet up and then roll the vehicle into the ramp and fly away and have a good time. You could even just drive around because Levski was like a really fun asteroid to go explore. So, I would say that I miss it a lot, and I hope to see it again when they start bringing the systems back in. The local systems, we'll get it back. So don't worry, it's not like it ran away forever. went back to where it belongs in the Nyx system. So, who knows? Stanton's an interesting place. Stanton is very built up. I think I've said many times that you can't hit the B key without seeing like 50 different folks. Just to let you know, if you're curious, 3.14 S still has like every single ship available to you, regardless of your access or not. However, it does not have RSI ships, so every other ship is available to you. Unless you own the RSI ships, though, they would not be available to you. So sometimes if you go to the bottom and you don't see your last ship, you can go like this, and you get that. The Vanduul Scythe. So once again, every single ship, except for the RSI ships, is available to you on the test server. It is a wonderful place. If you're a content creator and you're looking to get some interesting footage, this is the place to be. You know? I will miss the days when the med pen doesn't just let you just basically do cool stuff like that. But yeah, when you go to the top of GrimHex, it's well, it's this. There's nothing. You know, there is a race course here. You know, but in general, I feel that GrimHex is not. It is not new player friendly, to say the least. You know, you usually have the rougher folks live here, and when they bother to show up, right now is the Xenothreat test, so everybody's busy over there, whether they're good or bad, and this place is basically empty. But yeah, on a 50-player server, you may run into 1 or 2 people at GrimHex on a normal time, and that's it. This is it. This is the big scary GrimHex. There is an interesting race course down below. I'm going to try to show that. I think they did a nice job on showing the betting area and the race course. But I think a lot of the player cap will need to go higher, and there will need to be reasons to come here. Like they need more mission giver support and some other interesting things to really make this place exciting. But I'm obviously biased. That's why I mentioned Levski earlier. It wasn't just because I'm a Levski fan. It's just I would have preferred to have. Well, I lived there for a lot of the patches, so I think these places have an interesting dynamic. You have basically you have these locations that are truly unique. Like, they're not an R&R station, you know, at some random Lagrange point. This is a truly unique station that's one of a kind. And it has a lot of weird places on these hallways. I can remember a lot of events, by the way. I used to come here to GrimHex and run around this guy's place.
The hell you want?
Oh, he's T-posing to assert dominance.
You really don't learn, do you? We're done.
If I remember right, this is one of the mission givers. He's got quite the assortment. He's clearly a Cyberpunk 2077 role player. Their medical facilities are less than desirable. A lot like his. But throughout this whole area, I used to run down here, and hidden behind these boxes would be the envelopes or the gifts for different events each year. And hopefully they'll keep doing that, because each one of those was like, I think it was 1,000 UEC, and you would grab them in different spots. And there was like one behind the stairwells. And they'd get creative. They would only spawn every now and then. and other players would compete with each other to see who could run them faster. GrimHex was one of the easiest places because this was like there's only so many places they can hide things, and this was one of the most common hallways to run those gifts through. A lot of them were very clever. To CIG's design folks really did some neat stuff where you would come down the stairs and you wouldn't know the first time through where this was, and then as you were coming back up, there'd be like a gift hiding like over here or something, or an envelope. So like you come through, and you would never notice it unless you were really like stopping every 5 feet to really, really look, and then you could grab it. But most of the time, you would notice it on the way back out. So if you're ever in one of those events, be sure to really stop and chew the scenery, because a lot of them are going to be set up in a way where the first time through you'll never see it, and then on your way back out you may get lucky and see it, or you may not notice it there too. They really, that seems to be what they calibrated towards, is trying to make it as difficult as possible on your way in, your first ride through. They were also on the tables, they were in the betting areas. I thought that one of the box events was like during the first rollout of the betting area. So there's like this area where that overlooks the race course. I'll be honest with you, I can't remember if it's over here. Yeah, this should be it. Or not? Question mark? This also had it. Oh, this is you had the boxes all around here too, like up on the stairs, open the cabinets, behind the desk. And then this really weird area here that has this bizarre, like, hacked comms. Let's see if we can get it to run.
This terminal is experiencing technical difficulties. We apologize for any inconvenience.
So, in case you can't catch that, that is like a UEE bigwig right there.
This terminal is experiencing technical difficulties. We apologize for any inconvenience.
And whoever's running this business has like a pet project to, I guess, make things that make fun of this fellow and get rid of him, the Costigan family. So this guy was supposed to replace the older Costigan with a new Costigan and continue the family lineage. And without getting too into like the politics, the internal game politics, not real world politics. Basically, he did not win the election. I'm not going to go in depth about who won the election, about trying to move the headquarters of the UEE, and if that's viable or not. This is so early on in the game's lineage, it really doesn't matter. Because it's not going to happen. It really doesn't make a difference. But at least at this point, later on, it might be worth talking about. But as we get closer and closer to actually even fleshing out the local systems of Stanton, we're nowhere near where this is going to be an issue about Sol and etc. But anyway, Costigans did not win the election. There is a transition that either took place or is in taking place of the new Imperator, and this is an example of that time period where whoever ran this organization, this spot right here, this company did not want Costigan to continue his reign. And I would say that no, Costigan itself is a really weird creature. The family has run the UEE for so long that they're like part of the fabric of the UEE. And I don't know. I think it'll be interesting to see if there's any differences. I think, hey, here's our favorite bartender. Let's see if he changes his mind.
Be with you in a minute.
Nope. Just a reminder with these airlocks, this is going to state the obvious here, but always make sure you're in a spacesuit, even though you're supposed to be inside. If you see an airlock, it's an airlock. Especially in GrimHex, you can see that this area is pretty effed up. If I'm not mistaken, this looks like a loading bay. Somebody really rammed it or broke it open. An explosive decompression. This is one of those moments where I maybe I'm missing it, but I wish there was like little like notices or something, or even not to sound morbid, but like injured people or people that were involved in the incident, where they were staying, working, etc. That like it gives you more of a story of like what the heck happened over here that made this chaos. Fallout style. It can just be as simple as a computer terminal or a Moby glass that's left behind by the wounded who evacuated, and gives you an idea, or a data core. They purposely left this open. People like me. Interesting, though. What's up there? I guess the reason I'm making this video is because I don't want to go too in depth with the, something when 314 is live is so close. I was burned last week about my production schedule being so tight. Like I was making so many different content videos that basically and even with all that, the patches outstripped my content, where I was really rendering in the wrong patch. And that was unfortunate because I preferred to deliver the newest patch possible. Full stop, do not pass go, it's the newest content, guaranteed. Looks like you should be able to... Why would you have power supplied out here and all these wonderful lights if the place is blown apart and in space? Curious. Whatever. So, next time I'm trying to make something that's relaxed and easygoing and just exploring somewhere interesting. And I was hoping I'd pick somewhere truly unique like GrimHex and think, this is a place people haven't spent a lot of time at unless you're of a certain persuasion, gameplay wise. Wonder if it'll kick me into EVA. No, it won't. But it's a place that's like a little different, to say the least. These larger asteroids might as well be a moon, when it comes to how they feel. And I love the feel of this place. Like, it feels like everything's gonna fall apart. It feels like there's no maintenance going on, which is likely. And the chaos of it a little bit. Even this thing, this is like by necessity. I feel like they would not want to have this. Like, I mean, it just seems like something that's not a good idea. Finally. So this was like a big push in a patch, and to be honest, it's kind of like it was kind of like I'm not going to call it a flash in the pan because I feel like competitive and racing need to have their space. The game needs to have that capability. It's one more gameplay loop. It's one more interesting thing. It's something that can really break up the game and make it more interesting and lively and give this place more life. I don't know exactly how I feel about this exact place and this course that was created that you can see over here. You know, it was somewhere where I just feel like... So this is the viewing area that overlooks the races, and the idea is that they'll have these attachments to make race areas where you can bet through these kiosks, and you'll be able to, you know, it's a little bit of supposed to be a sketchy place where the devs say, like, you know, we don't know, you won't know if the person next to you is going to try to rob you from your earnings as soon as you leave this place. And anything goes. You know, you might have people doing some pretty sketchy things out there on the racetrack. You know, remember the ships do have weapons. Here's a, you know, gambling machines. They're not the only place those are at, but it was a nice little touch that they added those in. But it's just, there's no content here. That was the sad part of this, that, you know, this should be like, you know, a whole person should be in here. This should all be lit up. There should be action going on. Yeah. There's not much. However, this was a good spot for box runs, by the way. Once again, you would cut through here, and there was boxes hidden all along, and envelopes and such hidden along here, underneath these benches especially. And then you would cut back, and you would like do this loop over and over again. It would go different places. But it's an interesting place. GrimHex is truly a unique... Well, it's not exactly a jewel. I don't think it wants to be a jewel of anything. But it's an interesting place. And I would say that GrimHex is necessary. It's a place where you don't have to sweat having a bad crime stat. It is a place where anybody is kind of going to be able to hang out here. I would say that I prefer Levski out of the two. I miss its huge market. I don't really see these couple stores as like an independent market set or anything like that. You know, I try to use that terminology where it's an independent market area is like there's a few stores. They're not really affiliated with anybody in particular. They're kind of doing their own thing. Whereas the mall at Orison, well, that's a different beast. It's an entire facility with all these heavily regulated stores that are under the Crusader banner. They've negotiated with Crusader to have the right to sell there, and they have to meet certain standards. And a place like this, not so much. You know, if you want to get your banded armors and stuff like that, you buy them here. While there is some other places in the verse that would have that stuff in around Stanton, it would be unlikely that they would have it. So let's fly around outside of GrimHex. Let's see what we can see. Okay. well, Scythe's broken. Okay, second time's a charm.
Systems activated. Systems gone.
It's one of the cooler ships when it takes off. I mean, this ship just oozes cool. Notice the Armistice Zone is extraordinarily short in GrimHex. I mean, it is incredibly short. We just left, and it's already over. That's how small it is. There's a player hammerhead, 65 off of me. And that's the entirety of GrimHex right here, not counting the race course. This is it. See, that's where the beacon is. You can see how these asteroids are all kind of hollow. The main one's hollowed out, and then the other ones are kind of used as anchors to hold it in place. You know, the original company being the Green Imperial Mining Services. This is meant to be one of my more relaxed videos, but I'm still going to do the research and include it. So, GrimHex was originally built to house workers and fell under the control of criminals. Oh no. GrimHex was used as the default outlaw spawn location, and there you go. If you're a criminal, this is where you live, as we've already talked about. Like all housing exchanges, GrimHex is built into a hollowed asteroid after the system's discovery by Everline Structures, Inc. It was constructed for mining purposes, but was later abandoned and now poorly maintained. No kidding. Its former clientele changed, and so did the station. The housing exchange officially closed in 2938, but it is operated by its new inhabitants, outlaws, criminals, pirates, and lowlifes. I think the quote from Star Wars, and you'll never find a more wretched hive or villainy or something like that, comes into mind here. We're not on Tatooine. We're on a hollowed out asteroid in Stanton, the system of Stanton. Half of the station's corridors are now unpressurized and lack gravity. The station is currently controlled by outlaws and is believed to be used as a base of operations by pirates, although the inhabitants of GrimHex deny this. In addition to standard landing pads, the asteroid also contains its hangars. And it's true, you can spawn some of the biggest ships in the game here, no problem. Due to its vertical nature, elevators are used to traverse the base. It has a racing course as well. Now, if you follow the in-game stuff, you saw in the race course it said it was closed due to debris, and there was no racing today, and there was, some type of law enforcement spotted. I'm guessing advocacy or something like that was the RP element. But really, the story is it's not ready for proper racing yet. It has this race course. But it's not in place. Like, it's not used. Like, there's no tracking. There's no betting. They have the locations. They have the viewing areas that can overlook the race course. But there's really nothing to it yet. There's one of those huge hangars on top. If you look on top of this, you can see a lot of the station pretty easily. See behind the hollowed out asteroid, some of the bigger pads. And then the huge hangar on top. Look at the size of that puppy. Really makes you think, you know, what other kind of facilities we'll have in the future. Uh, this is not the only set of asteroids in the game, that's for sure. And even with Levski being pulled with all its wonderful, weird asteroids with it, and its mining area that you can drive to, which is kind of cool. You know, there's a lot going on in Stanton. I think a lot of the lessons of GrimHex are going to be carried over onto Ruin Station next door in Pyro. By the way, also, GrimHex does have medical services. There was a preview picture last week, I think, on the Star Citizen newsletter. I'll try and grab that and put it on the screen here. But basically, this will have a medical facility, just like the planets, just like the big orbiting stations do. GrimHex. So that'll do it for this adventure through GrimHex. I tried to kind of make this leisurely pace through GrimHex, so explore it, and we talk about its future. I think that with its healthcare system, it's going to have a bright future, well, as bright as the folks there want it to be. I wish you all a safe travels, regardless of which side of the law you're on. Take care.